So let us continue our discussion on Greek drama by looking at the structure of the Greek theater. The Greek theater was built on a hillside. The Greek theater was built on a hillside. It had a circular shape or a semicircular shape. In it, you had the orchestra, which is also called dancing space. Which is also called dancing space. It is circular in shape. It is circular in shape. It is the space where songs and dances with the actors on stage. It is the space where songs and dances with actors on stage take place near the skin. Where songs and dances with the actors on the stage take place near the skin. Near the skin. Then we have the thymel. Thymele. Thymele. It should be pronounced thymele. Thymele. Another name for it is the altar. Another name for it is the altar. It is found at the center of the orchestra. It is found at the center of the orchestra. It is found at the center of the orchestra. The orchestra of the Theatre of Dionysus in Athens was about 60 feet in diameter. The orchestra of the Theatre of Dionysus in Athens was about 60 feet in diameter. Then we have the theatron. The theatron. We have the theatron. Theatron. It's also called viewing place. It's also called viewing place. It's also called viewing place. This is where the spectators sit. This is where the spectators sit. Then we have the skene, S-K-E-N-E, also called tent, T-E-N-T. The skene, also called tent. It is the building directly behind the stage, used as a backstage. It is the building directly behind the stage, used as a backstage. A Greek theater building, or the theatron, was a large open-air structure. A Greek theater building, or the theatron, was a large open-air structure made up of three parts. A Greek theater building, or the theatron, was a large open-air structure made up of three parts: the orchestra, the skene, and the audience. The orchestra, the skene, and the audience. The orchestra is the dancing place, the skene is the tent, the building directly behind the stage used as backstage, and where the audience sits. The Greek theater was up to 150 meters across. The Greek theater was up to 150 meters across. 150 meters across. An altar was dedicated to Dionysus. An altar was dedicated to Dionysus in the theater. Then we have the proskene. We have the proskene. The proskene is a raised acting area in the front of the skene. The proskene is a raised acting area in the front of the skene. It is the ancestor of modern proscenium theater. It is the ancestor of the modern proscenium theater. Proscenium theater. I hope you've been taught types of stage. Proscenium stage, theater in the round, and so on and so forth. Okay, so if you want to read more on the types of stage, you can Google drama, definition, types and elements. And then I have a note on my website for that. The audience sat on tiers of benches built up on the side of the hill. In the Greek theater, the audience sat on tiers of benches built up on the side of the hill. The Greek theater was not covered. The Greek theater was not covered. It was open, meaning that their theaters were outdoors. Meaning that theaters were outdoors. Meaning that theaters were outdoors. Out, then doors. Greek theater was not covered, it was open, meaning that the theaters were outdoors. Players used masks. Actors used masks. M-A-S-K-S. And the characters consisted of the chorus and three characters. Chorus is a prominent feature of any Greek drama. Whether you are reading Oedipus the King or Lysistrata, you will come across chorus. Chorus is a major feature of Greek drama. It's part of the characterization. So the actors in Greek drama consisted of the chorus and three characters: the protagonist, the deuteragonist, and the tritagonist. The players wore masks, and the characters consisted of the chorus and three characters. And they are the protagonist, the deuteragonist, and the tritagonist. The structure of Greek drama was such that you had the paradox, which is the part by which the chorus and some actors make their entrances and exits. The passageways, the paths by which the chorus and some actors make their entrances and their exits. The paradox, the passageways by which some of the actors and the chorus make their entrances and their exits. The paradox can also be defined as the song sung by the chorus. The song sung by the chorus. Sung by the chorus as it enters the orchestra and dances. The paradox can also refer to the song sung by the chorus as it enters the orchestra and dances. In Greek drama, you also had the prologue. The prologue, which is spoken by one or two characters before the chorus appears. The prologue is spoken by one or two characters before the chorus appears. You have the first episode. The first episode. The first episode. This is when the main action begins, and it is defined as the dialogue between chorus and characters. This is where the main action begins, and it is defined as the dialogue between. The episode is nothing other than the main action, dramatization of action, and that is done between chorus and the characters. Once again, if you read Oedipus the King, you see at times how the chorus interacts with Jocasta, and sometimes with Oedipus himself and other characters. So, and other characters can also interact among themselves, not necessarily with the chorus. So the first episode is where the main action begins. It defines the action whereby the chorus and the characters dialogue. After the first episode, we have the first testament. After the first episode, we have the first testament. First testament. First testament. The episode is followed by a testament. And this is how the drama will proceed till the end. You have the first episode, the first testament, the second episode, the second testament, till the end of the play. Another name for testament is the choral ode. The choral ode. Choral ode. The choral ode. In the first testament, the chorus dances or sings the testament. The chorus dances or sings the testament. The ode usually reflects on the things said and done in the episodes. That's why the chorus usually comes in to reflect on what has happened in the episode. When you read Greek drama, you observe this pattern. The ode usually reflects on things said and done in the episodes. There is usually the alternation between episodes and testament until the play ends, until the final scene of the play. That's why I said you have the episode and you have the testament. You have episode and you have the testament. So there is alternation between episodes and testament until the end of the play. Okay? So the choral ode is usually organized in three parts. You have the strophe, you have the antistrophe, and then you have the epode. You have the strophe, you have the antistrophe, then you have the epode. In the strophe, the chorus sings and dances to the left or to the right. In the antistrophe, the chorus moves to the left, and in the epode, the chorus stands still. It's about regulating the movement of the chorus. In the strophe, the chorus sings and dances to the right. In the antistrophe, the chorus moves to the left. In the epode, the chorus stands still. After you have the Exodus. The Exodus. Exodus. This refers to the exit of the chorus sing a processional song. The exit of the chorus sing a processional song, which usually offers words of wisdom. Usually offers words of wisdom. Related to the action and outcome of the play. Exodus refers to the exit of the chorus singing a processional song, which usually offers words of wisdom related to the action and outcome of the play. Then we have parabasis. 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 Parabasis refers to the direct address to the audience. A direct address to the audience sung by the chorus on behalf of the author. Direct address to the audience sung by the chorus on behalf of the author. In other words, the author addresses the audience through the chorus, speaks its mind. The author uses the chorus to speak its point of his mind or point of view to the audience, what he thinks, what he believes about the play or the action in the play to the audience. Parabasis is a direct address to the audience sung by the chorus on behalf of the author. That means the parabasis carries the author's point of view in the drama. Then we have the agon. We have the agon. We have the agon. A-G-O-N. This refers to the conflict, contest, or struggle in Greek drama. The agon. The agon refers to the conflict, contest, or struggle in Greek drama. Then we have the commission. The commission. The commission is a brief prelude. It's a brief prelude comprising of short lines and often including a valediction to departing authors. A brief prelude comprising short lines, a brief prelude comprising short lines and often including a valediction to the departing authors. The commission refers to a brief prelude comprising short lines and often including a valediction to departing actors. To departing actors. To departing actors. For instance, you can say, go rejoicing. Go rejoicing, or go in peace and love one another. For the Lord is good. And as you go, remember to pray. Other terms we have in Greek drama include katastasis, katastasis, katastasis. Other terms we have in Greek drama include katastasis. This refers to the third part of an ancient drama, the third part of an ancient drama in which the intrigue or action this refers to the third part of an ancient drama, that's Greek drama, in which the intrigue or action that was initiated in the epithesis is supported and heightened. Is supported and heightened. Is supported and heightened until they are ready to be unraveled in the catastrophe. Until they are ready to be unraveled in the catastrophe. In the catastrophe. It is the climax of the drama. It is the climax of the drama. The climax of the play. So in Greek drama, you usually have the action in this, the structure in this order: the prologue, the prothesis, epithesis, katastasis, and catastrophe. And catastrophe. So the prologue is the introductory part of the play. Words or song or action that introduces the play. Consider the prologue. Prothesis is the introductory part of a play, usually the first act. Prothesis is the introductory part of a play, usually the first act. Prothesis is the introductory part of the play, usually the first act. The term was coined by the 4th century Roman grammarian Aelius Donatus. The term was coined by the 4th century Roman grammarian Aelius Donatus. Then you have the epithesis. 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 Epithesis is the main action of a play. The main action of a play in which the trials and tribulations of the main character increase and build towards a climax and denouement. Epithesis is the main action of a play in which the trials and tribulations of the main character increase and build towards a climax and denouement. There's a climax and denouement. The climax is the peak of action. 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 It's the highest point of dramatic tension. Climax is the highest point of dramatic tension. The denouement is the resolution of the play. Denouement is also called resolution, where the conflicts are resolved. Then catastrophe. Catastrophe is the part in Greek tragedy in which the hero suffers the ultimate reversal. Catastrophe is the part in Greek tragedy in which the hero suffers the ultimate reversal. Reversal. Catastrophe is the part in Greek tragedy in which the hero suffers the ultimate reversal. It is the final resolution in a play. It is the final action that completes the unraveling of the plot in a play, especially in tragedy. It is the final action that completes the unraveling of the plot in a play, especially in tragedy. Let's look at the components of the Aristotelian tragedy. Components of Aristotelian tragedy. Components of Aristotelian tragedy. There are 6 of them. There are 6 components of the Aristotelian tragedy. Number 1, we have the plot. Number 1, we have the plot, which is called mythos. Which is called mythos. The plot, which is called mythos. Mythos. It answers the question what. It answers the question what, and refers to the main action, the subject matter of the play. Refers to the main action, the subject matter of the play. It refers to the selection and organization of events in a tragedy. It refers to the selection and organization of events in a tragedy. Aristotle believes that the plot has to have three parts that are organically related. Aristotle believes that the plot has to have three parts that are organically related. It has to have the beginning, the middle, and the end. It has to have the beginning, the middle, and the end. And that no matter how the events are organized, the audience should be able to know the beginning, where the beginning is, where the middle is, and where the ending is. The contemporary dramatic plot is usually represented in the Freytag's pyramid. Contemporary dramatic plots usually represented in the Freytag's pyramid. And they consist of the exposition, rising action, climax, falling action, and resolution or denouement. They usually consist of exposition, rising action, climax, falling action, and what? Denouement. Resolution. Where the exposition refers to the introductory part of the play, usually the first part of the play, where the main action is introduced, the main conflict is introduced, the main characters are introduced. The exposition is the introductory part of the play, usually the first act, where the first scene, the first act, where the main characters are introduced, the major conflict is introduced. The rising action is also called complication. The rising action is also called complication. The rising action is also called complication. Because whatever conflict that was introduced in the exposition gets worse here, gets worse. Bad things get worse in the complication, in the rising action. Whatever conflict that was introduced in the exposition degenerates in the rising action, the complication. Then it comes to a peak in the climax. It comes to a peak in the climax. Comes to a peak in the climax. And are resolved in the falling action. Down to the resolution itself. It is in the falling action that we have more information about the play, the conflicts, more explanation given to the events after the climax. And the denouement usually leads to catharsis. Denouement usually leads to what? Catharsis, which is the purging of the emotion. In tragedy, is the purging of the emotion in tragedy. The resolution and the denouement usually leads to catharsis, which is the purging of the emotion. Because drama usually fills the individual with fear and dread. Aristotle says that they should not be allowed to go home in that state. So emotions have to be purged through some light actions, some light words that resolve the plague, the conflict in the plague. Number 2, character. Number 2, character. Character is called ethos. Ethos. Ethos can also be called eth or ethos. It answers the question who. Answers the question who. Answers the question who. It answers the question who. So character refers to the abstract moral quality of the individual or in the individual. The play is usually a mix of good and bad characters. But sometimes tragedy is not based on any wrong thing that the tragic hero has done. It is simply his fate in Greek drama. Alright? Because if you say otherwise, and I'll ask you, what crime did Oedipus commit? What crime did Oedipus commit? What was his wrongdoing? So sometimes it's not based on anything that the tragic hero has done, but it is just his fate. Okay? It's just his lot in life. So, but then, character refers to the abstract moral quality of an individual, whether it's a good or a bad person, whether it's a good guy or the bad guy. That's what character is specifically, and it refers to the individual. The character is not the individual, but the moral traits in the individual. In Greek drama, dialogue is used to expose character. Dialogue is used to expose character. Dialogue is used to expose character. Then the third one is diction. Diction. The third component is diction. Can also call it lexis. 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 It answers the question how. It answers the question how. It answers the question how. It is the use of language in literature. It refers to the use of language in literature. It refers to the use of language in literature. It's the style of the literary work The choice of words. The choice of words. The dialogue. So, as I've said, anytime the author, you are asked, how does the author do this? You are being asked to use style to infer the message. Then the fourth one is thought. The fourth one is thought. 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 You can also call it diner. 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 Thought or diner. It answers the question why. It answers the question why. It answers the question why. And it refers to the ideas or thinking that makes a work of art. The idea or thinking that makes up a work of art. You can call it theme. You can call it theme. You can call it theme. Can be called theme. The ideas or thinking that makes up a work of art. Thought is theme. Then we move on to spectacle. 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 You can call it abscess. Abscess. The performance of the play refers to the entire performance of the play. Refers to the performance of the play. Refers to the performance of the play. All that is seen on stage constitutes spectacle. It answers the question where. It answers the question where. Spectacle answers the question where. And could refer to everything on the stage. It also refer to the setting of the play. Also refer to the setting of the play. Everything that is seen on the stage. It includes the costumes. The costumes, props, and stage decoration. Then finally we have the melody. We have melody. 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 You can call it mellows or morpe. Mellows or morpe. Refers to the use of music, the use of sound and music in the play. The song sung by the chorus. The songs sung by the chorus. It's part of the melody. Finally, let's look at the three unities. Okay, finally, let's look at the three unities. The three unities refer to action, place, and time. Three unities refer to action, place, and time. Action, place, and time. So the three unities is a rule that specifies how the parts of the play should come together to create uniformity. The parts of the play should come together to create uniformity. Action specifies that the play should have a single action. The play should have a single action. Place implies that the play should occur at a single place. Action implies that the play should have a single action. Place implies that the play should occur at a single place. The play should occur at a single place. And time specifies that the play should take place in the course of a day, in one revolution of the sun, in the course of a day. Time. The play should not be longer than one revolution of the sun in the course of a day. The temporal dimension of the play should not be longer than one revolution of the sun in the course of a day. So the three unities are action, place, and time. In that order. In that order. Sometimes they might test you on the order of the three unities. It's not time, place, and action. That's to make it delicious, sweet. But the proper order is action, place, and time. Okay? So other terms that you need to note about Greek drama, other terms that you need to be armed with so that you're able to discuss Greek drama are amartia, 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 hubris, 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 peripetia, peripetia, we call it peripety. Anagnorisis, anagnorisis, catharsis, we will explain catharsis. You also need to know something about Deus ex machina. Deus ex machina and Diabolus ex machina. Okay? So is there any of the terms that you do not understand? Eh? Okay, amartia is a flaw in the moral constitution of the tragic hero. Amartia is a flaw in the moral constitution of the tragic hero. Amartya is a flaw in the moral constitution of the tragic hero that results in his fall, death, or disgrace. Amartya is a flaw, F-L-A-W, in the moral constitution of the tragic hero that results in his fall, death, or disgrace. Hubris. Hubris refers specifically to pride or arrogance in the tragic hero. Hubris refers to specifically pride or arrogance in the tragic hero. It's a flaw as well that can lead to his fall and destruction. Hubris specifically refers to pride or arrogance in the tragic hero that could lead to his fall or destruction. So the difference between amartya and hubris is that hubris specifically refers to pride or arrogance, while amartya is general. It can refer to pride or arrogance as well as any other flaw. Then peripetia. Peripetia refers to a sudden reversal in the fortunes of the tragic hero. A sudden reversal. Peripetia is a sudden reversal in the fortunes of the tragic hero, which implies his fall or destruction. A sudden reversal in the fortune of the tragic hero that leads to his fall or disgrace. It is also called the turning point. Also called the turning point. The turning point. It's called the turning point. The turning point. All right? It's the turning point. It's the turning point. So things are going well for the tragic. Suddenly things start happening in the opposite direction, and that's his fall. Then we have anagnorisis. Anagnorisis is a sudden realization or discovery. A sudden realization or discovery that jeopardizes the fortunes of the tragic hero. A sudden realization or discovery that jeopardizes the fortunes of the tragic hero. What causes the tragedy of Oedipus is discovery or realization. That is anagnorisis. So once the information is revealed, he knows that he has fallen. And as long as he does not know, his position is secure. But once the information is revealed, he has fallen. So the sudden realization or discovery in there that jeopardizes the fortunes of the tragic hero is anagnorisis. Okay, so let's just talk about Oedipus the King. Let's talk about Oedipus the King briefly. I suppose you read the play before. Even if you've read, you've not read. So in Oedipus the King, we have the characters Oedipus, the King of Thieves, Oedipus the King. We have the characters Oedipus himself, King of Thieves. King of Thieves. Then you have Jocasta, his wife. Later we will know that it is his mother. You have Creon, his brother-in-law. Teresius, the blind seer, poet. Then we have a priest. We have first messenger. We have second messenger. Then we have the headsman. Then we have chorus. Chorus of old men of thieves. Chorus of old men of thieves. Oedipus the King is an eponymous play by Sophocles. One of the greatest Greek tragedians. Sophocles, one of the greatest Greek tragedians. As an eponymous play, it means that the title of the play is the same as the main character. It's an eponymous play. An eponymous play is one in which the title is the same as the main character of the play. The play recounts the tragedy of King Oedipus, who tries to escape from fulfilling a prophecy, a terrible prophecy, that he will one day kill his father and marry his mother. But in the process of running away, so as not to fulfill the prophecy, he ends up fulfilling the prophecy. Implying that the action in the play is fated and that he is a fated character. Action in the play is fated and that he is a fated character. If an event is fated, it means that it cannot be averted. Right? If an event is fated, it means that it cannot be averted. If an event is fated, it means that it cannot be averted. The play opens in medias res. The play opens in medias res. Meaning in the middle of things. the middle of things, which is the plot structure of the play. The events begin in the middle. And the setting is in Thebes, where a plague is ravaging the land. Pestilence is ravaging the land. And the people are seen crying out to their king to save them. People are seen crying out to their king to save them. Because you see, leadership comes with responsibility. And whatever happens in the state, the king has to take responsibility, the leader has to take responsibility of it, for it. And so Oedipus is determined to solve the problem of the plague. After all, he has saved the people before. He saved the people from the dangerous fiends. From the dangerous fiends. When he newly arrived at Thebes, the phoenix was killing people because the people could not give an answer to the riddle posed by the creature, until Oedipus came and solved the riddle and saved the people from certain destruction. And so another need as a reason again for the king to prove himself, because his solving the riddle of the phoenix helped him to become king and marry Jocasta. And so he's determined to help the people again. Although we know that the king has sent Cron to consult an oracle to find out what is wrong with the land. And when he comes back, he tells the king that the oracle says that a man has to be banished or killed because he had killed another man. And if he's banished or killed, the land will be cleansed. That there is pollution in the land. And so the entire play is the process of looking for who that man is. Okay? As Oedipus promises the people that he will definitely find out who the man is, without knowing that he is actually the one. It's quite ironic. So a man is to be banished or killed, two, for having killed another man. The man he had killed was the former king, by name Laius. He killed the former king. And he killed Laius at a place where three roads meet, at the crossroads, while fleeing from Corinth. Oedipus killed Laius while fleeing from Corinth to escape fulfilling the prophecy. Because you see, he was raised in Corinth. He was raised in Corinth. Where he assumed that Polybus and Merope were his parents. Where he assumed that Polybus and Merope were his father and mother, and he, the only son, soon to be king, admired and worshipped by all citizens, until one day a drunk tells him the truth that Polybus is not his father and Merope is not his mother, that he was adopted. So he confronts the parents on the story, and the parents are angry with the drunk person. So when Oedipus is not satisfied, he has to go to seek further clarification from an oracle that tells him more terrifying truths, our prophecy. The oracle tells him that he is bound to even have incestuous relationship with his mother after killing his father. Oedipus believes the philosophy or the prophecy and decides to run away from home. On his way home, on his way from home, on his way fleeing Corinth, which he believes is his home, he now meets Lais on the way. Of course, he doesn't know that that's Lais. And when he's attacked by one of the attendants following Lais, he kills the man and all the entourage, including the king, and then continues on his way to Thebes, where he solves the riddle of the Sphinx and becomes king and marries Jocasta. Now the fate here is that when Lais was king of Thebes, there was a prophecy too that he will have a son that will kill him and marry his wife. And so to stop the prophecy from being fulfilled, he ensures that when the son was born, he tied the ankle and delivers to a shepherd to keep in the deepest part of the forest to die. But the shepherd has human kindness and cannot let the child die, so he hands it over to another shepherd, who now takes it to Corinth and hands it over to Polybus and Merope to be raised. All right? So the entire play is how fate makes it possible for what even the individual is running away from to happen to him. All right?
Yes, sir.
Good. So Lais was killed on his way back from a journey outside Thebes. He's called Lais, son of Labdacus. Lais, son of Labdacus. So Chorus asked Oedipus to ask Tiresias about who murdered Lais. Remember, I said the whole play is about finding out who murdered the king. Tiresias is blind, but he sees spiritually. So it is he that tells Oedipus the truth in indirect ways. But at first he refuses to talk because all along he has known the truth. Okay, he says, I will not bring the pain upon us both, neither on you nor on myself. So Tiresias speaks in innuendos that point to Oedipus as the guilty party. Oedipus is angry and accuses Tiresias of being one of the plotters of the king's murder. In response, Tiresias tells Oedipus that he is the land's pollution. He says, "You are the murderer of the king, whose murderer you seek." He also alludes to Oedipus' incestuous marriage when he says, I say with those you love best, you live in a foulest shame, unconsciously, and do not see where you are in calamity." Ironically, he accuses Oedipus of being blind in mind, in ears, and in eye, whereas he's the one who is blind. Okay? Oedipus asks if Cron has asked Tiresias to do or say what he says as a way of taking the throne from him, because if he's identified as the murderer, then he's going to be made to abandon the land and the throne. Oedipus reminds them of how he solved the riddle of the Sphinx to save the land. He says, "You have eyes, but see not where you are." Okay, so it is Tiresias who tells Oedipus, "You have eyes, but see not where you are in sin, nor where you live, nor where you live, nor whom you live with," alluding to Jocasta as the sin that Oedipus is committing. He says, "Do you know whom your parents are?" So he also prophesies Oedipus' fate in the play. "Unknowing you are an enemy, kith and kin in death, beneath the earth and in life, a deadly footed double striking curse from father and mother both shall drive you forth out of this land with darkness on your eyes." And that is exactly what will happen at the end of the play. Because when Oedipus finally finds out that he is the cause of the plague on the land, he plucks out his eyes with a bodkin and then leaves. Okay, we will pause there. We'll look at Lysistrata.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
We look at Lysistrata by Aristophanes. You may not find a copy of the play, or you may find. If you can't find it, you can get a soft copy from me. I also have notes on the website, on my website, that I made about the play, so you can also check it out. I shared it on my Facebook page, so you could have a look. Okay, so within the time that's left, I will manage to explain what the play is all about. You can read my notes on my website and also read the play. Okay?
Yes, sir.
So probably if we can have a class on Monday. So if you can have a class on Monday, then we'll round off. If not, then today is our final class. Lysistrata is an eponymous play. Lysistrata is an eponymous play. Lysistrata is an eponymous play. Lysistrata. Some people can also call it Lysistrata, but I prefer Lysistrata. Lysistrata is an eponymous play by Aristophanes, a Greek playwright. Aristophanes, a Greek playwright. A Greek playwright. He lived between 446 and 386 BC. He lived between 446. Aristophanes lived between 446 and 386 BC. He is noted for writing comedies. He is known as the father of comedy. If they ask you who is the father of comedy, say Aristophanes, the father of comedy. He has also written The Birds and the Frogs as his comic plays, including Lysistrata, which was written in 412 BC. He has also written The Birds and the Frogs as his comic, The Birds and the Frogs as his comic plays, including Lysistrata, written in 412 BC. Lysistrata was written in 412 BC. The play is based on the Peloponnesian War. The play is based on the Peloponnesian War. The play is based on the Peloponnesian War. The Peloponnesian War was a war fought between Athens and Sparta. The Peloponnesian War was a war that was fought between Athens and Sparta. So that was fought between Athens and Sparta. There were two Greek city-states. This war was fought between 431 and 405 BC. The Peloponnesian War was fought between 431 and 405 BC. (431 and 405 BC). In ancient Greece, GRECE, plays were performed at the Lena and the Great City Dionysia. And the Great City Dionysia. These were two religious festivals. The Lena and the City Dionysia were two religious festivals in honor of Dionysus, in the course of which plays were staged as competition. Lysistrata by Aristophanes is a comedy. It's a comedy. Whereas Oedipus the King is tragedy. Oedipus the King is tragedy. Lysistrata is a comedy. It makes use of satire and lampoon. Lampoon and satire drive the comedy in the play. Lampoon and satire drive the comedy, are the force of comedy in the play. Lampoon and satire are the agents of comedy in the play. The play demonstrates the strength of the woman, or the strength of women. Lysistrata demonstrates the strength of the woman. Remember, the play is eponymous. That means Lysistrata is the heroine of the play. The main character is a lady, woman, who stands up to perform an heroic action in the time of war, when all the men have failed. So the play demonstrates that women can succeed where men have failed in society, as a way of negating the patriarchal ideologies in the Greek society that did not see women as anything. The Greek society was highly patriarchal. Greek society was highly what? Patriarchal. Meaning patriarchy refers to the rule of the father. Patriarchy is the rule of the father. In a patriarchy, men have the advantage over women. In a patriarchal society, men tend to have advantage over women. Men are favored by the patriarchal system because it is a system that allows men to rule. The opposite is what we have in a matriarchy, what we call matriarchy, which is the rule of the mother. We used to have matriarchal society, but there are not many anymore. In a matriarchy, it's the woman who rules, the rule of the mother. So, as I said, the background to the play is that women were not valued, were not given important position in society. They were mostly allowed to stay at home, be wives, raise children for the men. In fact, scholars like Aristotle see women as the weaker sex, inferior men, and so on and so forth. So you could see the background from which Lysistrata rises to do what she has done in the play. So what is the action of Lysistrata that makes her heroic in this play? It is her decision to call the meeting of women in Athens and Sparta. It's her decision to call the meeting of women in Athens and Sparta in the time of war, because the war is not easily decided. The war is in a stalemate, and it has cost both societies of men and resources. The war is in a state of stalemate. Stalemate, meaning that neither side wins and neither side loses. There's no clear winner and there's no clear loser. But then the war keeps counting its cost. The war keeps counting its cost. Societies keep counting their cost in men and in resources. When wars happen, men die. The soldiers who fight in the battlefield are killed. These are people's children, people's husbands, right? And the state has to spend more money during wartime to buy weapons. So Lysistrata feels that she can solve this problem. And so she calls the meeting of the women. The drama begins, the play begins when Lysistrata is expecting the arrival of the women. The play begins at the point when Lysistrata is expecting the arrival of the women to the venue of the meeting in Athens. So they are waiting at the city center, and she begins to wonder if the women will even turn up for the meeting. Because they are yet to arrive. She says that women love pleasure and would have only come early if it was something that promises entertainment. The play is set in the morning and will terminate in the evening, in keeping with the unity of time. The play is set in the morning and will end in the evening, the night, following the unity of time. Among the characters in the play are Lysistrata herself, Then you have Calonis, who is Lysistrata's friend and neighbor. She is Lysistrata's friend and neighbor. Then we have Marin. Another woman. And we have Lampito, a lady from Sparta. She leads the women's delegation from Sparta. Then we have magistrates, who represents patriarchy in the play. Magistrate represents patriarchy in the play. Then we have Synesius, the husband of Marin, who is used to represent how the strategy of the women has worked. And then we have other characters like babies, the heroes from Sparta, the ambassador from Sparta. and so on and so forth. So when the women arrive, Lysistrata, I'm going to make a summary of the play. You can read it up later. So Lysistrata makes her proposal to them. And what is the proposal? Since the men have been unable to resolve the war, the women should come together to bring the war to an end by organizing sex strike. The sex strike is to force the men to agree to end the war, sign peace deal to end the war. That is just what the play is all about. Zota tells the women that they should withhold affection from their men so that they will look for ways to resolve the war, bring an end to the war. They should just stay at home, beautify themselves, but should not give in to the men's demand for love. That is Lysistrata's proposal. So, initially, the women find this task difficult to carry out because of their nature. Women, as they express themselves, show that they cannot live without love. But some of them even threaten to leave the venue of the meeting until Lysistrata has to use her own leadership qualities, sense, and strategy to convince the women that even the gods have promised them victory. And then they also take an oath to keep to the promise not to compromise until the men come to their senses and agree to end the war. Okay? And after the oath taking, the women lock the Acropolis, which is at the city center, so that the men will not have access to the treasury to take money to buy more weapons. So there's a confrontation between men and women in the play, as represented by magistrate who wants to go to the Acropolis to take money in order to end the war. We also see some of the women trying to sneak out to go and meet their husbands because they are hungry for love, and how Lysistrata is able to persuade them not to go. Lysistrata does not only have action to take against the men to help them end the war, she also has arguments. Because the men have always argued that war is the business of men, not women, that women have no business in war. Lysistrata is able to argue that women are also stakeholders in the war, because it's their children who die in the war, it's their husbands who die in the war, so they also have a say. It also revealed that the men might not have made the right decisions most of the time and would have been corrected if they were allowed some women to be in the meeting where war decisions are made. So it's dangerous for any society to exclude women from the scheme of things. That's what the play demonstrates. Okay? In the play also, the women also match the strength of the men back to back, strength to strength, especially in the attempt to claim the Acropolis. The chorus in this play is is in two parts. Okay, the chorus in the play is in two parts. Based on the gender of the play. We have the chorus of all men, we have the chorus of all women in the play. And they are used to show the confrontation between men and women in the play, the conflict. So the major conflict in the Lysistrata is the gender conflict, the conflict between men and women, and also at the same time the conflict between Athens and Sparta. So Lampito is able to go back to Sparta to organize the women there to have their sex strike, while Lysistrata handles the sex strike in Athens. It is effective because at the end of the day, the men cannot endure anymore and had to seek ways to end the war. We see that in the character of Synesius, who comes to plead with his wife to come home. Right? And so it is through this instrument that Lysistrata uses to get both men from Sparta and Athens to bring the war to an end later in the evening that day, because when Magister is unable to defeat the women, he now asks that delegation should go to Sparta to ask the men to come and look so that they can sign peace treaty. And he also calls the ambassadors in Athens, and they come to sign peace treaty. And because of the hunger for love, they don't even negotiate anymore. They just say we want peace so that we can go back to our wives. So in the end, it shows that the strategy used by the Lysistrata works better instead of war. And that is basically what the play is all about. And that's where we bring our class to a close.